Anywhere between 50 to 60 people are in line on a daily basis at any given time in Haiti awaiting money from people abroad. The majority of them are young people who could work. Are we hindering their growth? Do you feel guilty when you hear these words? Ou genle pase anba pase sablye-a? What would happen if the Haitian Diaspora ceases to send money back home? From Tele.com, this is Color of Hope. Welcome back to Color of Hope. My name is Ed Shakespierre. It is a pleasure having you on with us this evening. Helping or enabling is the question we're asking tonight. And really, to discuss this, this is something that is way too much for me. The question we are trying to answer tonight, and since this is really a huge question for me to undertake myself, so what we did, we have invited Marc Clair. Of course, Marc is no stranger to this show here, and you should really all know who Marc is. Marc is the managing partner at Haiti Venture, and he's joining me right now to discuss the issue. Marc, welcome on the program, my man.
Great to be here.
Marc, welcome to the program. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, great. I'm not sure if you can hear me well. What about now, Marc? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, welcome to the program, man. It's not, your first time here. You've been to our program here before. But before we get started, I wanted to give our audience pretty much a chance to hear what you had to say at the National Haitian-American Forum on the matter. And for those of you who's watching online, you'll be able to also view the clip. So let's take a listen at what Marc had to say. Let's listen to this clip, and then when we come back, Marc, we'll get going here. All right?
Okay.
So there are three potential diaspora response that we could have or to be engaged in as far as investments in Haiti. The first one is, of course, I wish this picture could show up, is remittance. I have a picture here that shows a line of over 60 people in the line of a Western Union. If you guys have been in Haiti, what that means is that on a daily basis, at any given time, from sunrise to sunset, there's always an average of 50 to 60 people in line at a Western Union waiting for people to send money back from home. And unfortunately, this is what the status quo is in Haiti. And the next picture would have shown you it's a close-up picture of who's in line. It's a bunch of young guys that could work, So one of the first ways you could get involved is by continually sending your money for remittance. Anybody wants to do that? Raise your hands. But this is not a good approach. You could continue to do that. Well, of course, you need to sustain and help family members back home.
Marc, I want to stop the clip here, and I'd like to start with the question that you ask, but from a slightly different angle. How many people do you think would be willing, or at least would consider modifying their ways as far as the way we send money to Haiti, as far as remittances is concerned?
I think that there is a significant percentage of the Haitian population that lives abroad that would consider doing this, because at times when you practice something, I think it just becomes a routine. And even at times like they would like to work or trust to work with a partner, and they have not been able to identify a trustworthy partner to work with a new vehicle that's going to enable that to take place. So I think on most part, I think we would have close to 60% of the Haitian community that lives abroad, I think, would be willing to partake in that, in my point of view.
That's a really high number. Let's be clear first and foremost with exactly what you're saying. You're not saying for people to stop sending money back home, right?
That's correct. That's correct. Because in essence, sending money back home is very important because people need to eat because there's a low unemployment rate, and people need money to buy food. People need to be able to pay their bills because if they're not paying their rent, then they don't have anywhere to stay. So it is important for people to send money back home, but given the new situation now, I think people should start looking into new ways to diversify how they send money back home. That's the approach that I think they should use right now.
You said for people to look at new ways to doing it. Can you give us a few examples of possible few ways that we can start looking and doing this right now?
Sure. I'm going to have a final solution proposal at the end, but as I mentioned in this process, I think, I'll actually give it to you up front. I think if in the next 5 years, if a core group of Haitians, about 100,000 of them, and I think we could find more because there's over 1.5 million Haitians living abroad, but I think if there's a core group of at least 100,000 Haitians that devote the next 5 years, every time they get their income tax, I'm going to set aside $500 to strategically invest in Haiti. $500. And I think with that approach, I think and that mentality, I think we will start seeing a new light on how things are done. For example, from the $500, they could diversify and say, you know what, out of $500, I'm going to invest the money. I'm going to invest $300 in projects or what have you, and I'm going to work with organizations that are doing things non-profit, but in Haiti, I'm going to give them $100 from the $500, and then the other $100 I'm going to fund initiatives such as Zafin, for example, who has a lot of great initiatives that they're doing, and then from there, I think people would start seeing things from a new light. So that's one of the options that I think people could start looking into.
Yeah, I want to get back to this point because I do want to discuss this a little bit further, but I want to kind of get back to what I mentioned at the beginning of the show, between 50 to 60 people. And sorry for stealing your line there, Marc, but I just had to use it. How detrimental is this to the country? So let's kind of talk about the advantages of sending money back home. As you said, people need to pay their bills, but also how detrimental is this to the country as far as killing, the innovative minds? Because when you have people that are being enabled, you never know what these young people could have come up with, on their own. So how detrimental is this to the country? I mean, having young people standing in line awaiting a handout.
Oh, definitely. Well, one of the first things that it does create is that it does set and ingrained in their ways that, you know what, I'm always going to have a big brother looking after me. And this is almost like Social Security, and as you know, people who are on welfare at times, you become acclimated to it. And very few people do not like being on welfare or do not like being stagnant or dependent on someone. And I think as a nation, we're a proud nation. But after a while, after years of current practice, I think that's what ends up happening. People end up just giving up because of the hardship, It is noteworthy to mention that there are two types of entrepreneurship. There is necessity entrepreneurship, and there is opportunity entrepreneurship. And that's all over the world. In the case of Haiti, what we have, the majority of the entrepreneurship that is taking place is necessity entrepreneurship. For example, people would take a micro loan to go and start up a mango business. I don't know if you're aware, but this is a necessity because they do not have the acumen to start a small business. They don't have any desire to start a small business, but they must do it because they have to live. But the challenge is that necessity entrepreneurship is usually is a crowded market. You could get a microloan to go start a mango business, but what you came to realize is that there's like 10 people selling mangoes on the block. So that's a challenge. And in addition to that, when there's problem around solving problems, for example, recycling bottles and stuff like this, you're not thinking about these problems. You're not thinking about providing solutions for these problems. You're just thinking about eating. Conversely, opportunity entrepreneurship is when an entrepreneur has a vision and he sees that this is a problem, and he has been able to marry financing, and the entrepreneur has been able to marry the opportunity or the networking opportunity to bring or tie a technological solution or any solution for that particular problem, and at the same time making money out of it. This is opportunity entrepreneurship, and this is where we usually see breakthrough and novel ideas in the like of Google, Facebook, and a majority of the problems in the news tool that we have. So I think Haiti is lacking in opportunity entrepreneurship for the simple fact that that everyone is trying to survive, so everyone is leading a necessity, and people that could actually feed in the opportunity entrepreneurship, the great minds in Haiti that could solve these problems, they're tied down trying to feed themselves, so they're not even thinking about opportunity.
Wow. I want to remind everybody who just tuned in that you will get an opportunity to ask questions. By the way, you can do it live on the chat right now on teleakitv.com, and you will be able to also call in live. The number is 561-623-9508. I want to spend a couple more minutes with Marc here, and then I'll open the line that you guys can actually call in and get your questions in. But please, right now, if you want me to ask something that I'm probably not asking Marc, please feel free to type it in the chat. And Marc is also on the chat, so he'll be able to answer some of them, not while he's talking to me, because I want his full attention. So the number again is 561-623-9508 if you'd like to call in. Also type your question right on the chat. Marc, let's get back to that same very idea of, from what you're just explaining to me here, it looks like we're losing a whole lot. So if we were to outweigh the good and the bad as far as, what we're doing to Haiti as its diaspora, it sounds to me like we're doing more harm than good.
Yeah, it would seem. It would seem. There is. I'm going to ask you to get my frame of thought. I think I'm going to give you an analogy. Slavery back, and when Christopher Columbus came in Haiti. If you could remember slavery, there is us, and there is les colons from the New World that came in, and in turn we ended up being slaves because in turn we had to work for a wage and we had to work for the master. So and we didn't get paid for our work and our hard labor. So that's the definition of what slavery was. Now what we have right now, we have the diaspora. I think the Haitian diaspora is the modern day slaves right now as it stands in Haiti, because what we're doing is that we are not only working for ourselves, but we're working for other individuals that, if we have found a way to move out of that slavery mindset and put roots, just like people in Taiwan have done. For example, in Taiwan, I think it's Taiwan, the people that put their money, small nickels and dimes at a time, to do an airport in Taiwan. And you know what has happened? Less and less of them now are having to send money back to their people because more job is created. And every time a plane lands, guess what? Jingles of money jingles in the pocket of every single one of the people that put their money together to actually do the airport there. So this is something that people, have to start getting themselves out of the mindset. So the mindset is that, we are sending money back home. It's important, but at the same time, we are creating a detrimental ecosystem for our people, because once you die or once you pass off, then they need to find new ways to sustain themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that. So I think the approach is once people start opening up their eyes and say, let me do something new for change. I'm going to get $1,000, $1,500 from the income tax between January and April. So I'm going to be one of the 500,000 people that would, say, I'm going to put $500 in Haiti, $100 in infrastructure. I'm not going to get any money back from infrastructure, but guess what? When I drive down the road, people will get more work. Things will be better in Haiti, Yeah. And I think people would be willing to do that if they have found the right partner.
Let me play the devil's advocate here for a minute. I mean, if I'm listening and I'm like, this sounds great, but why would I want to do this as an individual? Because I feel like many people may be thinking, hey, if I have $300 and I send it home to a brother or a little sister of mine, I'm directly helping them. Why would I take a little bit from that and invest it into the common good? I mean, why?
Well, yeah, that's one of the common questions you have, and at the end of the day, it takes an inquisitive mindset to say, what, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And if the employment rate in Haiti continues to hover right around between 70 and 80%, I am going to have to support this guy for the rest of his life. My family, the cousins, every time I get paid, at least $200, $250. That's the average. $250 to $300 is going to go toward this guy. So you do the addition financially. You find how much it is going to cost you in 50 years, or in 30 years, for however your lifelong, thing is. And not only that, think about how you're going to pass this to your son, because eventually they're going to have to support his kids and his kids. And conversely, think about when you use this approach, what you end up doing is that you create an ecosystem where people can create jobs. And what ends up happening is that you might find out that you don't actually have to be burdened or to be taxed on a 6th year or on a 7th year, because the money that you have put in and you have participated in the infrastructure have actually created an opportunity for people in Haiti to create their own job and their own wealth.
Wow. Well, that would, particularly to someone like me, would make a whole lot of sense. But I wanted to make sure that, because I know there are some out there listening to us who may be thinking that way. So if I hear you correctly, it is to our advantage to invest that way as opposed to individually. Exactly. Keep on doing it the same way we've been doing it, right?
Exactly. Well, keep on sending that, keep on sending the money, but diversify. It's the same way where you would invest money, you would diversify. If especially you have an opportunity during tax season, I think that's when you could actually do that. Instead of buying a flat screen TV, perhaps there's an opportunity for you to consider doing that. Instead of buying the new Michael Jordan that comes out, or a new set of rims for your car, I think that's the opportunity right there, to actually do that.
Yeah.
And you might be surprised. I think a lot of people will end up making money in Haiti, and that's where a lot of foreigners and a lot of private investment companies that I personally that are currently aligning themselves to make money in Haiti. So they're going to make money in Haiti, and guess what? When they set up shop and they set up the infrastructure accordingly,
mm-hmm.
not only are they going to make money, but you in turn you're going to end up continually paying these guys as well for the services that they provide, as opposed to you providing the service and getting the money. So it's a win-win for you.
Right. All right. Well, our guest tonight is Marc St. Clair. We are getting a call, but we're going to let our caller know to call a little bit later in the program. We're going to take a short break. Of course, when we come back, more with our guest, Marc St. Clair, managing partner of Haiti Venture. Marc, hang out with us here. We'll be right back.
Place pour me relax, bon moi yon ti place pour me trouver l'espoir. Que génération pas me l'auto petit espoir. Et tomber dans fait noir, parce qu'il était confort. Kounye li petit voile, parce que li petit la foi. Alors c'est bien dommage pour le voisinage. Pas qu'un pèlerinage, kounye le soir c'est le club, le petit bar. Même sous place c'est l'endroit où on voit le mal. 4 nez, 4 montées son sel, les guerres, ça que le manque de respect. Pour les femelles, la vie chère, pas rationnelle. Pas obligé d'exploiter, parce que c'est couilloté. De faire la charité, mais ridiculiser, c'est la méchanceté. Songez longtemps. Nous te compte causer, je dis à mon ouais tout bagay fin.
Grenadier à l'assaut, la patrie en danger, tendez, et yo dit nous même diaspora, c'est pi gros âme nous gagner pour une bataille contre la misère et souffrance dans le pays d'Haïti. C'est dans le même contexte ça, jeunesse haïtienne dans diaspora lancer un défi pour aider nous gonfler poignette nous pour nous bataille avec diable la misère. Défi ça, c'est pour nous ramasser $1 million dans un petit temps. Si chaque grain haïtien dans diaspora taba $1 grain seulement, diable la misère a commencé par ouais attendez, nous tout connaît déjà c'est complot qui bat. Et fois ça, nous bral faire un complot sous diable la misère attendez. Mes amis, jeunesse haïtienne rentrer dans bataille là oui pour nous sauver pays nous. On colle les épaules là pour nous assurer que yo lever défi ça. Bay so capable. Bay petit pa vle di chiche pour ça.
Pour aider à lever défi ça, allez sur www.colorofhope.org.